wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational, but that just wouldn't be our style.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
SportsTownChicago.com. Lombard, part of the Be On Air network and available on the TuneIn app.
Hell yeah.
Broadcast home for your Windy City Bulls and the Chicago Dogs. We're in a league of our own. Now, here's your SportsTownChicago.com scoreboard update.
I'm Tyler Farringle with your Sportstown Chicago update. White Sox play their season finale today on the road against the Guardians. A win today would end the series in a tie, and a loss would result in them dropping 3 of 4. On the mound today for the Southsiders is Lucas Giolito as the Guardians give Aaron Civale the start. The Sox need to walk out of Progressive Field today with a win as they then prepare for another road weekend series, this time against the Twins. First pitch starts tonight at 6:10 on NBC Sports Chicago. Baseball's current hottest team faces one of baseball's coldest teams as the Cubs host the Orioles for the second and final showdown at Wrigley Field. The Cubs look to end their 5-game losing streak against an Orioles team that has caught fire and won 9 in a row. The Northsiders turn to southpaw Justin Steele to snap both skids as the Orioles put righty Spencer Watkins on the mound. We'll see who can get the win at the friendly confines as first pitch begins at 7:05 on Marquee Sports Network. Blue Jays fired manager Charlie Montoyo today. The team promoted bench coach John Schneider to interim manager for the remainder of the season and named AAA manager Casey Candel the interim bench coach. Montoyo became the 13th manager in Blue Jays history in 2019, the first from Puerto Rico, and went an even 236 and 236 across his 4 seasons leading the team. The Blue Jays are 3-9 so far in July and just got back from a trip where they went 1-6 against the Athletics and Mariners. On the beginning of free agency in the NHL, the Blackhawks have agreed to deals with forwards Max Domi and Andreas Athanasiou, sources told ESPN today. Both will sign identical 1-year, $3 million deals. The Blackhawks look to fill those roles for now as they traded Alex DeBrincat last week to the Senators and didn't extend qualifying offers to Dylan Strome and Dominic Kubalik. This has been your Sportstown Chicago update. I'm Tyler Farringle.
Winner Circle. We're here to talk about all things sports. Here with Tyler and TC.
Oh my goodness!
Hello and welcome in everybody to another episode of the Winner Circle here on SportsTownChicago.com or the TuneIn Radio app. I am your host, Tyler Farringle, and along with me as always is my co-host, my right-hand man, Tyler Clausen, aka TC. TC, how is it going for you today on another show day?
Oh, it's going fantastic for me today. You know, it's a great day. I got to play with some dogs this morning. As you guys know, I get to work with dogs for a living, but we're also coming off of a weekend where me and Tyler got to find out who really is the better golfer. And honestly, in the beginning, it was clear and obvious that your boy TC was better, but as things went on, as Tyler was getting the pointers from the golf god over here, he was really showing up not only on his tee shots, but on his fairway shots, because yes, he was hitting the fairway with his tee shots too. So major kudos to him for that.
I'll take the compliments. You know, for my second time out golfing, I will say I could have done better, but I feel like I could have done a lot worse too. So I will say sticking to those iron shots, I'll take those a lot because those are my most comfortable shots for sure. We had a great weekend golfing though. Hope you guys are coming off a fantastic weekend as well. And you guys already know the drill for another Wednesday here on the Winner Circle. Nothing but news to talk about here today. Lots of Chicago stuff going on. It's going to be more of a local show today, but we'll have some also national segments to talk about. We'll talk a lot of things MLB coming up, and then we also have another NFL segment to wrap up our show. You don't want to miss who that's going to be centered around. But starting off, we're going to talk about our beloved Chicago Bears, and they haven't really been in the news in the best ways this offseason. Sure, they got a new head coach and a new general manager, but there's been some question marks regarding some of their new free agent signings in terms of off the field issues, and we'll get to that after we mentioned that they did just make a trade yesterday. We'll talk about that first, and that is for none other than a wide receiver named N'Keal Harry, the former first-round pick from the New England Patriots. 7th-round pick they gave up, I believe, in the 2024 draft. And while I will say N'Keal Harry has not been the best on the New England Patriots, I don't really dislike this trade. Honestly, a 7th-round pick in the 2024 draft, not a huge return for a guy that was a first-round pick. And honestly, there's not going to be a ton of expectations on him to perform to this level like he was in New England, given that he was a first-round pick. You know, he can fall in behind Pringle and Mooney and just find some good chemistry with Fields as like a wide receiver 3, maybe wide receiver 4. So TC, I don't know about you, but I don't really mind this move for the Bears. I think it's a pretty solid pickup.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And honestly, when it comes to Bill Belichick, he just doesn't, play players who don't fit into his system. So it could just be that he wasn't the kind of player that Belichick wanted, the one that plays this like 60 mind chess game with him. And, they're somehow able to turn a lackluster team into a playoff contender every year. But I think he could be a very big difference on the Chicago Bears, especially when you look at who's around him right now. I mean, the biggest name in Chicago right now is Darnell Mooney, and honestly, with Pringle getting into some hot water per se, and a few other, and no other real major signings at the position, I think he could really kind of show that, hey, there's a reason I was selected in the first round, and y'all are going to see that here in Chicago.
He's obviously not going to prove that he's better than guys who are selected behind him in this draft. I mean, I'm just naming 3 off the top of my head, but they are 3 of the best young receivers in the game right now. DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, and Deebo Samuel were 3 of the guys that were drafted behind N'Keal Harry in the 2019 draft. Obviously, he's not going to be able to live up to expectations that those 3 have, but I think absolutely, like Tyler or TC mentioned, is that he can find a role where he finds some sort of click, I guess, with Justin Fields, where he fits in a role with this offense really well, to where, like you said, Bill Belichick plays chess while the rest of the league plays checkers. And if he couldn't fit in with the Patriots, then you've got something going on with you, because that guy will put anyone on the field at any given time. I mean, when we heard of Gunnar Olszewski as like the return man, we're like, who in the world is this guy? I went to some like D3 college. But enough of the N'Keal Harry talk. We'll see how he can fit in with the Bears. TC brought up another receiver on the Bears that has had some off-the-field issues, and he isn't the only guy. We're talking about Byron Pringle with that reckless driving charge. Obviously, not ideal whatsoever. One of the fastest receivers we see in the NFL, and he, for one, is not the only receiver, I said, that the Bears signed that got into some trouble. I believe it was not this weekend, but the weekend before that. David Moore was charged with I think it was a DUI or DWI, speeding, and he got busted for drugs or something like that. It just, again, I remember this guy in the Seahawks wasn't that effective, but I just did not expect so many of the Bears signings to get into trouble. And lo and behold, here we are. Byron Pringle, David Moore. There was another guy too that was getting into some trouble, but it's disappointing, TC, because I, for one, had really high hopes on Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus working together as the new Matt and Ryan in Chicago. I feel like both of these guys have way more brain power than the other Matt and Ryan in terms of signing guys and turning guys into electric players. We don't know if this was the first thing with these guys that they've been getting in trouble with, but it's obviously disappointing to see that the very first offseason, a couple of their new signings are getting into trouble, not on the football field.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. This pairs pretty nicely with the segment that's going to be coming up next, which is, Papa Bear being able to take care of, what's going on in the clubhouse. Is the man in charge of the room, the head coach in this case, going to be able to, lay down the law, make an example, and say, hey, Chicago football means this, it doesn't mean that. And it obviously doesn't mean endangering kids. It obviously means, not getting weapons and drug charges and all that kind of sort. And the other player was Matthew Adams, linebacker that came over from the Colts, actually, with the new head coach, funnily enough. But that's something that just can't be tolerated. When you look at it, any sort of team, there might be a few bad apples here and there, in minor ways. We see a lot of guys, getting caught for PEDs and stuff like that. But these reasons for getting in trouble, especially, doing donuts with a Dodge Charger, it better have been one of the top of the line Chargers or something like that, or because seriously, really, a Dodge Charger, you're making all that money, you're doing donuts with the Dodge Charger. But either way, with a kid in the backseat, terrible decision. And honestly, it's something that, you already know the Chicago Bears are going to be a bad team. You don't want them to be a bad team plus a team that gets all of this negative press. You want the focus to be on the young quarterback who's trying to be an up-and-coming player in the league, trying to be the leader of this team in the seasons up ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more. I want you guys to let us know on our Instagram. Well, first, what do you think about the N'Keal Harry's trade with the New England Patriots? And also, second, what's your initial reaction to some of these Bears players getting in trouble off the field? Let us know on our Instagram at TheWinnerCircle22. A couple of Bears questions are being thrown out, but we want to hear what you guys have to think about that. One more thing to close out this segment about the Bears, because I forgot I saw this the other day, and it honestly drove me a little nuts, to be honest with you, because I thought the disrespect level was pretty off the charts. So ESPN released this poll that...
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, ESPN released this poll among the players and executives, top 10 running backs in the NFL. And I can name...
Plus honorable mentions.
Well, I can name 1 through 5, which personally I don't really disagree with in my head. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara were the top 5. Pretty good, right? All I know is number 10, Christian McCaffrey was 7, I believe. A couple other guys who were deserving to be on there as well. All I know is second-year running back Javonte Williams made it to number 10 from the Denver Broncos. But the most important player who I did not mention was not on that list, was none other than the Bears running back, David Montgomery. And I'm sorry, what a huge snub that was. How is he not voted in the top 10 by other peers?
Exactly. He has been basically the Chicago Bears offense
pretty
for
much
2 seasons in a row. And on top of that, he didn't even get put in the honorable mentions. He's
not even that.
1,000-yard seasons each year, and he's just a beast. He is a man who picks up yards after the tackle, who is just elusive in space. He can play the short game. He could take the ball on sweeps. He is just complete overall. And talk about coming out of the backfield too as a passing threat. He also is able to do that. He does it all for the Bears. He is a monster, and it is just pathetic.
I think everything you said is 1,000% correct, because we Bears fans obviously see the same thing that many others do, is that there's so much potential with all these guys, but they don't get recognized. And stuff like this is like, really? Like Montgomery had a 1,000-yard season in 2020, again, when Matt Nagy's offense was still declining. And then last year, it was still declining. And I don't think he put up 1,000 yards, but I think 865, I think that was his total. I'd still say that's very, very good considering the Bears' lackluster offense. And also, not to mention, we've talked about this how many times as well, the Bears have had a probably bottom 5 offensive line for the last few seasons under Matt Nagy. The fact that he was able to rack up that many yards in both seasons was kind of incredible, to be honest with you. So again, you're talking about a guy who, like TC said, has all the tools to just knock off defenders, carry guys, just get extra yards behind a terrible offensive line. I still don't know how he wasn't even mentioned.
Questionable quarterback play, quarterback circus, the whole 9 yards.
It is. I personally don't even know what to say about that. David Montgomery is a top 10 running back. Well, like I said, I don't really think he's top 5. I think those guys are very, very worthy of being up there, but top 10 for sure, because nobody really talks about the Bears offense because it is lackluster, but it is very noteworthy. I mean, Darnell Mooney had 1,000 yards receiving last year in that pathetic ran offense under Matt Nagy. So let us know, though, guys, any sort of Bears questions. You heard us earlier about those questions. Any other comments you have about Montgomery, hit us up on the Instagram at the Winner Circle 22. We want to know what your guys' thoughts are on anything we just talked about. Coming up, though, we're going to transition to another Chicago team. The White Sox are in the news lately, but not for the best reasons. Are they going to be potential sellers at the trade deadline? And is there a certain guy that is trying to hint to them that he wants to return as the manager? You don't want to miss that. Next.
This is your home for sports. SportsTownChicago.com.
Joe's Hot Dogs has been around since 1953, but I promise it's not old news. You don't have to like hot dogs to like Joe's on Plainfield Road in Joliet. Italian beef, hot dogs, shakes, and sides. My family's had a relationship with Joe's Hot Dogs for 3 generations. Golden fries with a tad bit of salt and the perfect amount of crunch come in a bag as big as your hand. And that's just a small. For more on the menu, visit joeshotdogsjoliet.com, bringing that classic Chicago flavor to the suburbs. That's Joe's Hot Dogs across from CVS on Plainfield Road in Joliet.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and Windy City News Radio.
The Illinois Center for Broadcasting is now the Illinois Media School. We've been an institution in the Chicagoland area now for 30 years. Because the broadcasting world is always changing, so are we. Not only are we teaching radio and television production, but now you can learn all aspects of the media industry, like web design. You can even specialize in TV or film, sports broadcasting, and even sales. No matter where you are in the Chicagoland area, we have a campus near you. The Illinois Media School. Be on TV, be on radio, beonair.com.
Maybe that was money. Tell me that wasn't money.
Yo, check us out. We are the go-to guys. I'm your boy Space.
I'm your boy MC.
Check us out every Thursday
from 4 to 5 p.m.
We spitting all facts, all sports, all day.
Yes, sir. Who else you gonna go to in the clutch?
Lillard, long range three, and it's good!
Keeping you up to date with all the latest sports news.
We are
the go-to guys.
Where else you gonna get all your sports news from?
You know,
SportsTownChicago.com.
This ball, and there is his first major league home run. This one drilled in the air left field, and Seiya Suzuki goes yard.
You're listening to the Winner Circle on SportsTownChicago.com.
Welcome back into the Winner Circle here on SportsTownChicago.com and the TuneIn Radio app. If you just missed our last segment, we were talking to you guys now about Chicago White Sox baseball because, yes, the Sox are in a very important final 2 series before the All-Star break. They're finishing up their series today in Cleveland against the Guardians, and starting tomorrow, they will travel to Target Field to take on the Minnesota Twins. But the first few games of the Cleveland Guardians series have been quite miserable for the White Sox. They dropped the opening game, and then they dropped the game 1 of a doubleheader yesterday, 4-1. And TC, I had a feeling it was going to happen when I saw Shane Bieber's name on the pitching list for the Guardians. Complete game, 95 pitches and only 1 earned run. And the Sox only, obviously scored 1 run, but complete game, 95 pitches. They got shut down against Shane Bieber.
That's the thing, is Chicago hitting has been an embarrassment. I mean, it's almost been like, the other team is gifting them the occasional run instead of them actually ever earning it. I mean, there's only a handful of games where it really looked like they were hungry, trying to actually garner runs instead of just going up there and going through the motions. It really seemed like, for whatever reason, this team kind of fell flat in the beginning, and since they fell flat, they never were able to revamp themselves and come back to where we knew they could play, which is being a playoff contender, being a potential champion going into the end of the season, winning the World Series, that kind of team. But for whatever reason, we see them out here looking exactly like their counterpart in the northern part of the city. Barely, not even really in the playoff race, under 500, and doesn't look like things are going to get any better.
No, and it does not look like things are going to get better unless there's major change. And us two sitting right here are not the only ones who are disappointed with what the White Sox have been doing so far. A certain guy, a certain former World Series winning manager named Ozzie Guillen has been very disappointed with the White Sox and the way they played so far. And in fact, after their 4-1 defeat against the Guardians in Game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday, Ozzie Guillen did not hold back on his thoughts on the White Sox, and namely the guy who is currently at the helm, Tony La Russa. Take a listen to this clip right here.
Is I going to take that job? I don't care who like me or who not. We're going to do it this way. Why? Is I get fired? Thank you very much. I'm leaving. Thank you, Jerry, for the new opportunity. Thank you, guys. But I ain't put up with that, watching that type of baseball.
As you can tell right there, very upset at the way the White Sox have been playing so far. I think it's a message of two separate things. One is very clear. He is not a fan of the job Tony La Russa is currently doing right now. We've talked about it how many times, how he just doesn't seem to be in tune with the game of baseball right now. Like, this isn't 1980 when you first managed the White Sox. This isn't 2011 when you won the World Series with the Cardinals. This isn't even 2020 when you were in the offseason blinging your 2011 World Series ring to get out of a DUI. This is right now, you have a team who is stacked and ready to win a World Series. And now after this year, last year was fine, but the way that they got eliminated from the playoffs and the way they're playing this year, it's starting to really question me if replacing him from Rick Renteria was the right move.
Yeah, and I don't, honestly, the part of me wants to be able to blame the manager and be like, hey, this group, if the manager was really on their butt, if he was really trying to get the most out of his players, they would be able to squeeze out a good series of wins, maybe try to fight their way back to 500, and we've seen them do that a few times. Maybe not a string of games, but slowly but surely fighting their way back to 500, only to fall back completely down 9 games or something like that. But right now, I know they're like 4 games back, but they struggle to ever have that momentum shift. And it's like, sure, you could blame Tony La Russa for some of that, for him maybe not being caring enough, I guess is a lack of a better word to use, but the team, you would think that eventually these guys that are so young, that supposedly all look to Tim Anderson to, come out and do the best, that, while they might not agree with Tony, that Tim is the defining person in that locker room. You would think that Tim Anderson has had enough of this subpar play, not only from himself, but from his team, and that he would want to win. But we don't really see that fire. That walk-off home run that they had against the Yankees about a year ago now seems...
The Field of Dreams game.
The Field of Dreams game seems so long ago.
Yeah, it does.
In terms of where this team has come from to where they are now. It is so disheartening.
Yeah, 1,000% agree. Like, without a doubt, I think most people heading this year were totally expecting the White Sox to be one of the perennial contenders, not just in the American League, but the rest of the league as well. And this whole time since they've had this sub 500 record, like they're still in the top 10 odds for winning the World Series. Like that's how much people believe in their roster. It's just the problem is leading the team, Tony La Russa, and that has a rippling effect to the rest of the team. That makes them not believe. That makes everything else kind of shaky as it is. But with what Ozzie Guillen's saying, maybe he can step in there. And if stuff doesn't go right, all right, bye-bye. Maybe we'll see. But we want to let you guys know on our Instagram at the Winner Circle 22. Would you want to see Ozzie Guillen manage the White Sox? Again, hit us up on our Instagram at the Winner Circle 22. And among some of the other potential changes we're going to talk about with the White Sox, Eloy Jimenez is supposed to be coming back finally in the coming days. I mean, it feels like every single time this guy's come back from an injury, another one bites the dust. He keeps getting hurt over the dumbest things.
And honestly, these injuries that go on with this team, it's really led to the trade rumors that we've been seeing as well. We've seen Jose Abreu potentially on the trading block, potentially Lucas Giolito. And honestly, I'm at the point where I would rather see the White Sox get rid of a lot of talent and just rebuild over their main core guys. And I think the absolute core of this is Tim Anderson, Andrew Vaughn, and Luis Robert. Everybody else, sorry you're up in the air. I like Gavin Sheets, but honestly, at the end of the day, I can leave him. Same thing with Jake Burger. Personally, I'm a fan, but he's not been panning out as much as I hoped he would have, and he doesn't even play that much. So, honestly, there's a lot to be said, but things need to change in Chicago, and I think trying to come out next year or the year after really competitive, I think that'd be the best move for Chicago.
Yeah, what TC was alluding to here was a report from JP Morosi. He said the White Sox are reportedly still likely to be buyers at the trade deadline, but given their below 500 record, players like Johnny Cueto, Lucas Giolito, and Jose Abreu could be among their potential trade chips. He also noted that there are rival GMs that said there is no chance that the White Sox become sellers. So we have to see potentially, like TC said, that's his opinion. I think that's a pretty bold group of players. We know TC's love for Andrew Vaughn is well known.
I mean, anybody who loves baseball should love Andrew Vaughn. He has been an absolute show out there.
Andrew Vaughn is one of a kind, but I think I would agree too that the Tim Anderson and Luis Robert he's very on and off too, but I feel like compared to the other guys, he's more consistent.
And he's young still too.
Very young, absolutely. Well, let us know who you would potentially trade or want the Sox to go for. Again, lots of potentially interesting moves for the White Sox here. Really quickly before we head to break, we're going to talk about the other side of Chicago baseball, the Northsiders, the Chicago Cubs, and it's been a rough stretch lately. 5-game losing streak. They're playing tonight against the Orioles at Wrigley Field. Opposite, it's like two sides to every story. Cubs are on a 5-game losing streak. The Orioles of all teams are riding a 9-game win streak. And you know what's crazy about that? 9-game win streak. They're 500, but they're last in the AL East.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I mean, hey, it is a tough division, and I know for both of the divisions here in Chicago, the NL, AL Central, they're not necessarily the best divisions, but I mean, emphasis on the AL with that, where the Sox are 4 games below 500 and still competitive within the division. What is that, the AL East, is it? I'm sorry, what was it?
Division? Yeah, the AL East.
AL East is one of the top divisions in baseball.
It's got to be.
I mean, it's kind of hard to be competitive there and be at 500. But these Cubs, I mean, it's the same old story. I mean, there's a lot of potential in some of these players, but the ones with not so much potential really showing how bad this team currently is, essentially. So it's unfortunate, but you like to hope that these guys are able to just all continue moving in the right direction, start to attract some talent to the city, get fired up about who they could be playing with in the near future, because like we've been saying, Seiya Suzuki's pretty exciting as a player. Patrick Wisdom's explosive, so there's a lot of reasons for people to be interested in Chicago, in my opinion.
Yeah, speaking of Seiya Suzuki, really quickly, it was so upsetting to see in Friday's game against the Dodgers. They were up 3-0 in the 6th inning. Keegan Thompson's pitching a great game in the 6th inning, has only given up 1 hit. Man on second, 2 outs. Suzuki drops the most routine fly ball in right field. That scores the Dodgers the run. Keegan Thompson gets kicked out of the game by David Ross, and then the Dodgers come back and win in extra innings. And it's just little stuff like that that's like, they can't shake the little stuff in terms of winning games. It's stuff like that. A routine fly ball was the reason why they lost that game. But all I'm saying is, I hope they win Saturday. I will be in attendance for that Cubs game against the Mets with Max Scherzer unfortunately on the mound. So hopefully the Cubs can get the win for me being there on Saturday. Coming up though, we're going to talk all things MLB, All-Star break, and Home Run Derby. Who are some of our potential picks to win the Home Run Derby? And why does the MLB All-Star Week / festivities why is it more successful than some of the other major sports? We'll talk about that next.
Back to your home for sports. SportsTownChicago.com. Scoreboard update.
I'm TC with your Sportstown Chicago update. Coming off a shutout win, the White Sox look to split the series with the division rival Guardians. The Southsiders started the series off slow, but last night their offense came to life, scoring 7 runs off 9 hits. Luis Roberts stole the show, going 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs. Can the White Sox carry the momentum into the series finale, or will the Guardians pull off the series win? Find out after the winner's circle as Lucas Giolito gets the call for Chicago against Aaron Civale. First pitch is at 6:10 on NBC Sports Chicago. After blowing an early lead, the Cubs look to restart their bats as they take on the Orioles at Wrigley. Chicago started the game off with scores in back-to-back innings, but stranded 10 base runners after the second. Can the Northsiders get their offense going in the final game of the series and snap their 5-game losing streak, or will the Orioles continue to dominate with their 10th win in a row? First pitch by Justin Steele is at 7:05 as he takes on Spencer Watkins for the O's on the Marquee Sports Network. Despite being a playoff contender, the Toronto Blue Jays have fired 4-year manager Charlie Montoyo. Montoyo's contract was extended until 2023 in April, but after a shaky start to the season and an awful start to July, Toronto has seen enough from the skipper. Bench coach John Schneider will be the interim manager for the rest of the season, and AAA manager Casey Candle will be the bench coach. The Blackhawks are moving forward with the signings of Max Domi and Andreas Athanasiou, with 2 forwards, as are the first major signings for Chicago and the first acquisition since trading Alex DeBrincat and Kirby Dach. The one-year, $3 million deals are the first for Kyle Davidson, who is moving into his first year as GM after taking over for Stan Bowman last year as the interim GM. This has been your Sportstown Chicago update. I'm TC.
This is your home for sports. Red left. SportsTownChicago.com.
Take that exit and get to the Southern Cafe, home of the Nasty Biscuit on Roselle Road in Roselle. Get over there and try the chicken fried chicken biscuit made with the Southern Cafe's house-made drop biscuit with buttermilk chicken fried chicken smothered in country gravy, topped with shredded cheddar and crumbled hickory smoked bacon. I always say that when you go to the Southern Cafe, you come out with 2 meals with the heaping amounts of food they serve you in every meal. I love to go to a place with outdoor seating. The Southern Cafe has a great outdoor seating area to help social distance, and I get to enjoy my breakfast outdoors. Open 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. to give you plenty of time to grab an amazing breakfast or lunch. Now get your butt over to the Southern Cafe on Roselle Road.
Hello?
It's speed walking day.
Dorothy? You're breaking up.
Did I mention we'd be slowing down when we pass the court where those fine brothers play ball?
I heard that.
Reduce your risk of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. Get active, eat right, and maybe even run into Mr. Right. Isn't sisterhood beautiful? For more information, go to everydaychoices.org. Brought to you by the American Cancer Society, the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, the Ad Council, and this station.
Alert! Alert! Be gone, maxed out credit cards, overdue loans, suffocating interest rates, and relentless collection agencies. If your credit rating is making you and others around you cringe, there's only one thing to do, and that's to turn to the professionals at Creative Credit Solutions. Even if your credit is less than perfect, we'll help you get back on track. You can do it, and we can help. Call today or visit CreativeCreditSolutions.net for your free credit check report.
Blow the whistle on SportsTownChicago.com. Mondays and Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m. as we talk NFL.
The game plan was really sound.
It's a quarterback league. It has been. It still is.
franchise-defining quarterbacks. College football.
Will Jim Harbaugh make it through the season as Michigan's head coach?
Some more Big Ten talk.
And here's some things you wouldn't expect.
I would have never expected that.
Get all of that and more on Blow the Whistle on SportsTownChicago.com.
3-2, runner goes. That's drilled. Walk it off. Anderson hits it in the air right. Back at the wall. The White Sox win.
You're listening to The Winner's Circle on SportsTownChicago.com.
Line of the right center field. Diving play. A walk-off catch.
Thank you guys for tuning in once more to the Winner's Circle. It's the second half of our show, and we are staying baseball with this segment. Again, if you miss us heading into the break, we are talking all things the upcoming 2022 Home Run Derby and the MLB All-Star Game, which both takes place at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. And I gotta say, I am ready. I am hyped for this year. The Home Run Derby, 6 of 8 participants are already announced, and they are hard-hitting contestants. Literally, no pun intended. And it's not just the fact that they hit hard. They are some of the best players we are seeing in baseball right now. Here's the 6 of the 8 that are actually announced and in the Home Run Derby. Ronald Acuna Jr., obviously we all know he's a young, sensational star. Pete Alonso, the 2-time defending champion of the Home Run Derby crown on the New York Mets. Then you got Albert Pujols in his final MLB season. He is coming aboard and participating this year. It was just announced that Julio Rodriguez, the young star from the Seattle Mariners, will also take place in the Home Run Derby, so it's going to be cool to see another young star get a shot at it. Second in the MLB in home runs, it's none other than Kyle Schwarber on the Phillies, most known for his time with the Chicago Cubs and last year with the Nationals and the Red Sox. And then finally, again, one of the youngest and most upcoming stars in baseball, Juan Soto on the Nationals. And there are still 2 more players left that we don't know who are going to be in. All I'm saying, TC, for one of these final 2, won't be the least bit surprised if it's somebody on the Dodgers to get the home crowd going.
Yeah, exactly. And who do you think it would be from the Dodgers?
It's a great question, but honestly, the 2 guys that I'm going to go with if I have to pick are number 1, Mookie Betts, and number 2, Freddie Freeman. I think this year, Mookie Betts is probably the guy who, I don't think he has or if I'd have to guess anybody who has the most home runs in the Dodgers right now, I'm going to have to go with Mookie Betts. And then Freddie Freeman is the new Dodger in town, so obviously the fans are loving Freddie right now. So if I'd have to guess, number 1, I'd say Mookie Betts.
Oh, no, I think you have to go with Freddie Freeman. I mean, the guy's coming off a World Series win, and now he's kind of more this national icon. Now he's on the local team, showing support for the local crowd. I mean, you could not think of a better player from a marketing standpoint to be part of the Home Run Derby. I mean, the guy literally touches all the aspects: champion, local team, national icon.
I should also put Cody Bellinger in there because he has had some seasons.
He should go to LA. He'll do good there.
That's a guy that I won't be the least bit surprised either. But we'll see if there's anyone from the Dodgers and who the other one will be. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the juicy. I already know who I'm picking. This is an easy pick. I'll get TC's pick in a moment. But despite the fact that we don't know still 2 of the final contestants, I have to go with Pete Alonso. I think it's going to be a 3-peat. Honestly, Polar Pete has
Chicago people and your addiction to those 3-peats. Oh my God.
Polar Pete has dominated the Home Run Derby the last 2 years. It was honestly a thing of beauty watching the last 2 years. It's like poetry in motion, seeing him literally it's like a rotation. All right, crank one out, back bat, pitch comes, crank one out, back. He was so consistent and just gone after gone after gone. Like, it was unbelievable watching him do it the last few years. So honestly, I'm going to go with Pete Alonso as my home run derby champ this year. TC, who are you rolling with?
You know, I'm a man who believes in magic. I can admit it, all right? Don't worry about me. You can call me whatever you want, but I'm a man who believes in magic, the moment, all that kind of stuff. And this is the moment right now. We're at the point where the man with the 5th most home runs all time is going into his final home run derby, and he's going to try to leave yet another mark to his name in terms of his legacy in the history books. So I think Albert Pujols is going to come out, show up these youngsters, take them to class and be like, hey, you know, you might be good. I got 5th most home runs all time, okay? I don't care how many home runs you get in the Derby. I got 5 all time. You know what that means? Guy who cheated is before me. All right? Guys needed to cheat to beat me. That's how good I am.
I did not expect that pick from TC, but I'm intrigued by it as well. Now we're going to ask you guys, who are you rolling with for the 2022 Home Run Derby champion crown? Are you taking my side and picking Polar P. Alonso, or are you taking TC's side and picking the veteran Albert Pujols? Or is it one of the 4 other guys, or potentially maybe the 2 other guys that haven't been announced yet? We want your guys' input at the Winner Circle _22 on our Instagram about the Home Run Derby. Now let's transition into kind of the same, but a little bit of a different kind of approach. The Home Run Derby, in my opinion, is probably the best pre-All-Star game festivity among the 4 major sports. I think it's a very personal one, but I feel like among all the major sports, we've already touched on how bad football is. We've already touched how bad basketball is. The slam dunk contest has even become hard to watch. How is it that baseball has a very watchable pregame festivity or pre-All-Star game festivity, and then the actual All-Star game is always really good? Like, I'm going to sit back on my couch and watch the Home Run Derby for sure, and I'm absolutely going to watch the All-Star game because, in my opinion, it's probably the best out of the 4 major sports, TC.
Oh, it absolutely is, and everyone's like, well, you know, don't they not try in those games too? I mean, you know, I don't think they're playing 100%, obviously. But even so, if you're throwing off-speed pitches, if you're not just, you know, lobbing epheses in there, giving them meatballs to swing at, then it's still a game. It's still difficult. I mean, you shooting shots is just you practicing out there. I mean, a guy throwing a live ball to you, and
there's nothing fake about that.
Nothing fake about it, and it's still a task. I mean, it's a lot harder. It would be like hitting a ball off a tee. That's a good way to look at it, in my opinion, when it comes to shooting a 3 ball with no defense, because you know you're going to get a clean look, you're going to get to the spot that you want to be at, and you're going to take that shot. In football, you know, if you get past the defender, they're not going to come try to run down and tackle you. If you blow past someone, they're not going to tackle you. And speaking of, you don't even get to tackle in this version of football anymore. So what really is the point of watching it? In baseball, sure, maybe guys aren't going to be laying out, trying to make some amazing catches and this, that, and the other thing, but it is still exciting to see.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And kind of going off of what I said, the slam dunk contest, I used to enjoy the slam dunk contest a lot when I was a kid. I wasn't one of the lucky ones, obviously, that grew up in the days where Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins were going up against each other, and they were pulling off dunks that were literally insane. And also the Dwight Howard Superman dunk was pretty cool to see as well. But I feel like overall for this, especially this past season's slam dunk contest, me and TC were talking about it before. Who's in the slam dunk contest nowadays? And it's the dunks. They're the same ones that are done every single season. It's like rinse, repeat, do it again. But here's the key. Not even close to the amount that the other guys who were able to pull it off was. And it's just become honestly
and now it's
boring
no
to
name
watch.
guy too.
Boring to watch. And with the MLB, they're getting the actual really, really good superstars to come out and literally just hit dingers. Like, honestly, I'm never getting sick and tired of seeing guys just hit straight up bombs from home plate like 20 times in like the last like 3 minutes you're watching. It just doesn't get old for me. And we're going back to it earlier. It takes a level of effort to do that. It doesn't take really much effort to just sit there for like 20 seconds, wait for someone to pass you the ball, and I'll just take a shot, because that's what basketball is nowadays. And you got basically real life. It's like COVID-19 rules apply to the basketball court, where defenders are standing 6 feet away from the shooter. No joke for COVID-19, but that's what it is. Guys are not even playing defense against one another. And so I feel like there's nothing fake about watching a baseball game. Guys are trying, and there's nothing fake about watching a home run derby. You see guys putting all their effort in to literally hit the ball out of the field.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I was thinking of too when we decided we were going to do this segment is I thought back to, what was it, 2014 Christmas, I want to say, maybe 2011 Christmas NBA commercial where it had Derrick Rose, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and I think 3 other All-Stars, Kobe, and they were all just like the most elite shooters, the biggest names in the game, and they were shooting, I forget what song it was, they were shooting some Christmas song with the shots they were making in their baskets. And I contrast that to the last 3-point contest, and it's like the biggest name on that list, the biggest name was the one who won, by the way, Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, he's going up against probably the next biggest name, Zach LaVine or Trae Young. And then it's like Freddie Van Vliet. Yeah. Oh, everyone's favorite player, best known shooter in the game. Patty Mills.
This isn't the 2014 Spurs.
Right?
Literally.
Oh my God. And I mean, no offense to Zach LaVine. I know he's a pretty decent 3-point shooter, but I mean, I would have rather seen him in the dunk contest than a 3-point contest.
Yeah. 1,000%. And by the way, he won the dunk contest as a rookie with the Timberwolves. I remember watching that, and I was blown away by Zach LaVine. But I'm going to give one piece of advice, you guys. You better watch the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game, because both are going to be electric, especially the Home Run Derby. Well, coming up on our final segment, we're switching back to the NFL with Baker Mayfield being traded last week to the Carolina Panthers. Where will the door be open now for another quarterback to potentially go, if that door is even going to be open? You don't want to miss who it is we're talking about next.
This is your home for sports.
Longtime fan.
Sports is like life. SportsTownChicago.com.
What's up, Chicago? If you're ever, and I mean ever, out looking for good urban food 24/7, come down to White Palace Grill, located 1159 South Canal Street in Chicago. White Palace Grill is open 365 days a year since 1939. I personally love the steak and egg dinner, but whether you like burgers for breakfast, steak for lunch, or French toast for dinner, White Palace is the place for you. The diner is a 24-hour urban oasis. Come now, come later. Heck, come now and later. We never close at White Palace Grill, located 1159 South Canal Street in Chicago. Visit us at whitepalace.com or order with Uber Eats or Grubhub anytime, any day.
Daddy, when you look at me, I could see your wheels turning. About what am I going to be when I grow up? A Major League first baseman? Maybe a point guard for a national champion.
The odds of a child becoming a professional athlete are 1 in 16,000. Far-fetched? Maybe. But did you know the odds of a child being diagnosed with autism are 1 in 166? That's right, 1 in 166. To learn the signs of autism, go to autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Go to Lux Barbershop for the best barbers and stylists in Plainfield, Illinois. I go there when I have an important event, date, or I just want to look good. The straight razor shave will have you looking fresh and smooth. Lux Barbershop is open 7 days a week. Go to Lux Barbershop for the finest barbers, stylists, braiders, and massage therapists in the southern suburbs. Check out all their daily deals on Facebook, Instagram, and luxbarbershop.com.
Hi,
Hi, this is Joe Perry and Steven Tyler of Aerosmith for Red. You know, it's okay to rock and roll and party down. Just don't get in that 2,000-pound bullet when you're done and cocked. And please don't drink and drive. I'm the one that jaded you.
A reminder that friends don't let friends drive drunk. A public service message brought to you by the Ad Council, U.S. Department of Transportation, National Association of Broadcasters, and RAD.
The Chicago Dogs are back on SportsTownChicago.com. Tune in to the season opener against the Sioux City Explorers, Friday, May 28th at Impact Field in Rosemont. First pitch at 7:05 p.m. Hear all the action right here on SportsTownChicago.com.
On the roll. Can he get there? Big collision at the goal line. He didn't get in. It bounces off the crossbar, and it's good. Oh, my goodness.
Fields. The fire into the end zone. Touchdown, Darnell Mooney. Touchdown, Bears.
You're listening to SportsTownChicago.com, home of the Winner's Circle.
And he may be going the distance. A full 100 yards to glory.
Welcome back, everyone, to SportsTownChicago.com or the TuneIn Radio app. Wherever you are listening to the Winner's Circle, we greatly appreciate it as always. And if you missed us heading to break, we are highlighting a quarterback that is still with his current team right now. And me and TC are going to give you a breakdown of if this guy is going to be moved, because that door might starting to slowly close right now, and I think you guys know who we are talking about. With Baker Mayfield's trade last week to the Carolina Panthers, the future is looking quite murky for Jimmy Garoppolo, the man who led the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl just 2 years ago and almost did it this past season. They were a 10-point fourth quarter lead away from going back to the Super Bowl once again. But that door, again, is starting to become slightly closed right now because Carolina is off the market for a quarterback. And I think there's about 2, maybe 3 teams we can see Jimmy Garoppolo heading to. TC, what are some of your initial thoughts on Jimmy G right now?
You know, personally, I do not think he's going to be traded. I think that if Trey Lance was really ready to go, then the 49ers would be like, okay, it's Trey Lance's turn. Jimmy, get out of here. You cost too much money.
That's kind of their own fault.
But they don't need to be spending. I'm saying they don't need to be spending that money on a backup. And I feel like we would see that they were actively trading or shopping, however you want to phrase it, Garoppolo. None of that's been established, so it's like, why? And I think it's because they want Garoppolo as a backup plan like they had this past season.
So you're saying they kind of flip with Trey Lance. Jimmy G's the backup and Trey Lance is the starter. And in case Lance...
they're basically like, oh God, Trey Lance might not be what we thought he was, so now we got to kind of go back and, play with Jimmy.
All right, I could
just like last season where they were like, "Oh yeah, Trey's the starter.
Oh, okay.
Trey's the starter."
Okay.
Oh, he's not.
The problem is though, I feel like the situation has already kind of reached a conclusion, if you know what I mean. I feel like the consensus among most is that Trey Lance is the 49ers starting quarterback, and it's just a matter of if they can find the right trade partner for Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's the thing. The options are starting to dwindle down. Like I said, the Carolina Panthers bit the bullet and got Baker Mayfield. There are 2 kind of teams, one for sure that I could see. Another one could be a low-key kind of under the radar one, but I can't really think of more than 3 teams I could see Jimmy Garoppolo being on this year. One being the 49ers. I could agree with TC. Obviously, the Seattle Seahawks are still in play because you're taking a big risk going with just Drew Lock and Geno Smith as your 2 quarterback options heading into this year. And another one that we just saw that obviously I picked is more of a thing for Mayfield, but obviously it did not happen. The Houston Texans, even though it seems like they are sort of set with Davis Mills, the now second-year guy to Stanford, a guy like Lovie Smith, he took a fantastic defense and a not-so-great quarterback to the Super Bowl, and we all know who it was, good old Rex Grossman. Lovey-led team doesn't really have to have a very amazing, flashy type of quarterback. So I can honestly see Houston, but I feel like they might be starting to roll the dice with Mills. The big question is, an in-division trade is rare, and you're sending a guy in Jimmy Garoppolo who, no question, you're taking him over Drew Lock and Geno Smith. Are you really willing to give Seattle your old starting quarterback?
No, but my basic thought is, yes, I understand everyone's been saying that, Garoppolo's out, they're ready to go with Lance. That's the same thing they were saying last year, so I don't think that carries any weight. So basically for me, same spot as last year. Garoppolo's going to be under contract for the 49ers at the beginning of the season, maybe at the end of it. Perhaps we'll see something at the end of next year, or maybe midway through the season before the trade deadline if Trey Lance is actually working. But other than that, I don't think things are changing. And I have to disagree with you. I think Seattle's trying to tank overall. I was looking at this article on Bleacher Report, just looking at the potential trade locations for Jimmy G, and this is from Joe Tansey. And he basically says, like you, potentially Seahawks, but I don't think so, just because, why would you go for Garoppolo over Mayfield? Mayfield's obviously the better quarterback. He at least has some experience in the playoffs, actually competing as a quarterback, not kind of just sitting there watching the running back go with the ball. So for me, it's a little different. I know Jimmy G's has quote-unquote more playoff experience, but overall, I think Baker Mayfield is the better quarterback, especially in the regular season. But additionally, they say maybe the Houston Texans, or my personal pick for Jimmy G, if he was going to go anywhere, but he's not, the Detroit Lions. Wow. I think that would be the most fun place for him to go. Give some love and some suave to Detroit up there.
Jimmy G and Jared Goff being on the same team.
No, get Jared Goff out of there. Just make it Jimmy G. I
have to say, Jared Goff wasn't that bad with Detroit
for a guy that
last
looks
year.
that good. You know,
Jared Goff wasn't half bad last year. The Lions they're the Lions.
That's the thing is Jared Goff isn't a bad quarterback, but honestly, compared to Matthew Stafford, he's bad. That's exactly why the Rams went from, we're a decent team, we're competitive in the playoffs a little bit, to, watch out.
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford immediately last year. Well, before we finish up our segment on Jimmy G, where do you think he could go, if any team, or will the 49ers keep him? You know what to do. Hit up our Instagram at TheWinnerCircle22 if you think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be moving to the Seahawks, the Texans, any other team, or if he's staying put in San Francisco. And honestly, we were kind of talking about this a little bit again before. When you really look at the entire situation between Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance and the entire quarterback dilemma that has a black cloud above the San Francisco 49ers, you have to sit back and say, this is all their fault. The rest of their team is 1,000% complete. Great defensive line, pretty good secondary, one of the best middle linebackers in football, and Fred Warner, one of the best offensive lines in football, a great running back room, a very solid receiving core, one of the best offensive play callers that anybody could ever want in the NFL, and Kyle Shanahan. The one thing that they are not settled with right now is quarterback. Giving Jimmy Garoppolo a massive contract after he really didn't do anything with the Patriots was a mistake, and then trading up 9 spots to get a guy in Trey Lance who played FCS competition wasn't really that smart either. And this is the one thing that's holding back their team from being one of the best. It's kind of their fault, because they would have a complete team if they knew what they were doing at quarterback, and they don't.
Exactly. You know where he's probably going to end up, though, Tyler, really quick?
Are you being serious with this one?
Probably, but I hope to God not. We don't know with this team, but how much you want to bet he ends up on Chicago?
Oh, stop it. Yeah, just because he has the Eastern Illinois / Rolling Meadows ties.
No, just because, Chicago's like, you know what we could do? Overpay for a backup quarterback.
Well, they did sign the guy who threw 4 interceptions in his NFL debut, Nathan Peterman, and then Trevor Siemian, he was the guy that took over for Peyton Manning
they just
in
have
Denver.
the best overall record at picking quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and how many? We're not going to get into that
too much.
later.
I mean, we
Way
got to
too
go through
much.
all the numbers.
Way too much, but we will see if Jimmy Garoppolo goes anywhere in the coming weeks before training camp begins or around preseason. That is going to do it for our show today, guys. Thank you so much once again for listening. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions for myself or TC, hit us up on our Instagram at the Winner Circle 22, or you can hit up my Instagram at Tyler FERENGUL 7. And TC, any closing remarks before we head out of here today?
DC Talks will be returning shortly, guys. We're going to be revamping this series, and it's going to be coming to you live on our YouTube at TMT. You are not going to want to miss it.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned for that. I know I for sure will. That's going to do it for another episode of The Winner Circle. Tyler Ferengel and Tyler Clausen, a.k.a. TC, signing out on Sports Town Chicago. Have a fantastic night, everybody.
Peace.
This is your home for sports.
This is the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportsTownChicago.com.
Thanks for tuning into The Winner's Circle, broadcast live on SportsTownChicago.com or in the TuneIn app. Did you enjoy the new video format, or do you want to see Tyler and TC on screen for next week? Let us know down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, subscribing helps keep you up to date on our latest uploads, including our shorts. As always, thanks for listening.